He continued, although it's not the way to train a dog, I've tried it many times. Did the rental car companies succeed? Not sure, Jews recalled, remembering that this dog had previously bitten off the arm of a maid. Jew's eyes were cold and emotionless as he recalled it. But then he immediately changed the expression on his face, smiling with narrowed eyes, and said, anyway, it doesn't need it anymore. He reached for the flower vase, took a flower, and said, here, thank you for finding these flowers for me. Jews brought the flower close and continued, I heard they're hard to find because they don't suit the climate of the empire, so the Joyce Alliance won't forget this contribution from the Joyce Trading Company. As a merchant and head of the Joyce Group, and also a believer, I'm just showing a little goodwill. Mr. Joyce has guaranteed privileges for us at the upcoming Alien Festival, so I have to make sure he gets this, Jews said. He smelled the fragrance of the flower in his hand and thanked him. I'll take the flowers to the specialized room and hand them over to the gardener right after this. In the merchant's mind, he suddenly thought, the dry bishop suddenly enjoys flowers more than the desert, it's really strange. The sound of flapping wings, where was it coming from? Blue wings landed next to Sean Joyce, causing him to turn his head involuntarily. Looking surprised, Jews exclaimed, oh! I thought you were bitten by a dog. It looked quite healthy. Sean looked at the bird next to his shoulder and thought, the red dot on its head. Yes, it's the bird I chose, but it feels a bit different. Thinking about it, Sean said, probably some noble priest, rich in mystery, has healed it. Jews chuckled softly, perhaps divine mercy has intervened. Suddenly there was a rustling sound. Jews looked startled into the distance, where a girl was slowly approaching. A girl with big round, clear eyes and shiny blonde hair, gently swaying in the wind, none other than Ariel. She was also looking at Jews with a surprised expression and said, Your Excellency. Azrael thought fearfully in her head, why is he here? She thought of an excuse and then quickly fled. With a shy expression, she said, I didn't know you were here with a guest. I apologize for interrupting everyone's tea time. So, if you'll excuse me. Behind Ariel stood Daisy, the maid dressed in blue, bowing respectfully to Jews. Upon hearing this, Ariel quickly pushed Daisy and said, Let's go, Daisy. Jews hastily asked, Are you going for a walk? Jew's question made both Ariel and Daisy startled. Azrael inwardly cried out, Surely he won't spare me. After thinking, she turned back, bowed her head, raised her right hand to her chest, and wished for 9 guardian deities to protect His Excellency, as well as the guest visiting Eliant. Jews, upon hearing this, also bowed his head, closed his eyes, and raised his hand to his chest, saying, wishing the saint to be protected by 9 guardian deities. Afterward, Jews gestured towards his companion at the tea table and said, And this is Sean, the head of the Joyce Trading Company. The guest said, You can call me the Earl of Joyce. Upon hearing the name, Ariel was shocked and thought positively. Inwardly, she exclaimed, Sean? Sean bowed to Ariel, the saint of Eliant, the one who received the glory of the 9 deities. Azrael found it strange, why would he and Ariel be involved with each other? After thinking, Ariel replied, with a hesitant smile, It's nice to meet you, Earl Joyce, welcome to Eliant. How about a stroll in the rose garden? Jews asked Ariel, making her involuntarily turn to look at him. Jews, with a charming expression, looked at Ariel and said, If you had mentioned it earlier, I would have escorted you. Azrael panicked, thinking, Don't smirk like that. She said, Your Excellency, are you too busy? I'm just going for a leisurely walk with Daisy. So, you two enjoy your tea. With your permission. As Ariel finished speaking, there was a hurried sound of footsteps approaching. Your Excellency, there's a big issue. The loud voice of the guard interrupted the conversation, startling Ariel. The guard approached Jews and whispered something in his ear. Jews then turned to Sean and Ariel and said, There's a problem with the building construction, so I may have to attend to it temporarily. That's now. Ariel took the opportunity to say, With your permission. Beside her, Sean wore a cold expression and said, I understand. He continued, I will talk to the saint, so you go and handle it. So, only two remained, both standing in silence. Azrael looked up at the tall, cold-looking figure with curiosity. He maintained his demeanor and remained silent. The situation was indeed peculiar. Azrael felt annoyed and thought to herself, what's going on? Compared to Jews, I find this man even more unpleasant. Not wanting this uncomfortable situation to drag on, Ariel said, Earl, perhaps I should excuse myself and return to the temple. I have some unfinished business. As she finished speaking, Sean's blue wings flew close to her. It landed on her shoulder, and he calmly asked, Do you know this bird? She smiled and replied, Oh, yes. Blue wings settled into her hand as if it were familiar with the gesture. Azrael happily stroked it and said, I and this bird have had a brief encounter before. It's nice to see it again like this. Blue Wing seemed quite comfortable being petted by her. Sean remarked, It's a trained bird that only flies to its owner. But you seem to have bonded with it strangely. Ariel, feeling a bit frightened by his words, asked, Is it your bird then? He replied, Indeed, I thought it was near death. His words triggered a chilling memory for Ariel. She remembered, that's right, in the novel he's portrayed like this. Sean is a man who always measures and converts everything into money, with no concern for others' emotions or pain. Wasn't he as cold as winter between him and Camilla when he drew his sword? Nevertheless, a handsome man with an icy heart will be forgiven. Sean continued, Did the saint save it? Ariel tightened her grip on her dress and said, No, although it wasn't me who saved it. But, did you really discard that dying bird? It was going to die anyway. I just predicted that it was no longer useful. Sean's every word made Ariel frown with disgust. Azrael said, Your predictions about life seem too easy, don't they? She continued, Has Earl Joyce ever been close to death? Or tried to struggle to escape death? If you predict that it has no value because death is imminent, then next time, cut off its life yourself, don't make it endure moments of pain and hopelessness. After saying this, Ariel pushed Blue Wings to fly back to Sean. Blue Wings flew forward and perched on Sean's left hand. He said, I'm surprised how different you are from the rumors. Azrael replied, Really? In any case, I'm glad the bird has been healed. Isn't it said to be following you, Earl? So please cherish it. Blue Wings with its shimmering feathers and red mark on its forehead looked beautiful. Azrael continued, So I'll take my leave, wishing you and the bishop a pleasant time. Sean didn't say anything, just reached out to stroke the bird. But as Ariel prepared to leave, he spoke up, Saint, we'll meet again soon. The Earl's words made Ariel glance back at him suspiciously. Back in her room, Ariel pondered for a long time. She thought, what did he mean? I don't want to meet him again. Whenever I get involved with Jews, it's enough trouble. Now Sean too? Ariel muttered to herself, things are getting more chaotic. Suddenly, a thought occurred to Azrael, if things have come to this, then the only way. In front of her appeared a message board, Do you want to receive a reward for your first use of divine power? The quickest way was to expedite the excavation of the tunnel from the temple. With this in mind, Ariel pressed yes. The screen emitted a ting sound, startling Ariel. The system sent a notification that her awareness lightning experience points had increased due to completing the task. Lightning Lever 2 had been opened. The sound of the Lightning Lever 2 appeared, participation items Sella's destruction power feature has been engaged. Azrael, filled with suspicion, muttered, Is someone else participating in the lightning transmission? Sella? Another ting sound rang out. A surge of power followed the gust of wind around Ariel's hands. The system announced, The power of destruction wishes to congratulate itself for participating in the lightning transmission and bestows blessings upon you. Azrael exclaimed in surprise, I can feel this power getting stronger. Is it because of the identity I used to justify the statue explosion at Kylie's banquet? Sella's destruction power? Aisel looked at her hands and expressed astonishment. Azriel stood up and said, if that's the case. She looked around and said, is there anything that wouldn't be suspected even if it's completely destroyed? That's it. A yellow chair with a unique design caught Ariel's eye. She tightly gripped the back of the chair. But after waiting for a while, nothing happened. Ariel looked disappointed and skeptical of the power she had just received. She said, I thought there would be some special power. But what happened next was even more surprising. Crack, the chair began to crack. Crack, crack. The crack spread to other parts of the chair, splitting it in two. Ariel watched as the two halves of the chair fell apart. Now Ariel was truly shocked and fearful, thinking, is this novel genre changing? At the reading table, she finished reading and stretched. Long after finishing the last book, her face brightened as she looked at the books she had just read. Ariel thought that Head's blessing was always useful. She could read 10 books in a day from the thick stack. So she knew everything about this place now. Escaping in the middle of the night shouldn't be a problem. And with divine power, making money wouldn't be difficult either. Ariel's face was filled with confidence. Remembering the time she saved Blue Wings, she thought, because if I want, I can use divine power anytime, so I'll earn money by healing. It's like being a healer for the people. They use herbs for healing instead of divine power. In short, as long as I find a similar job, I'll be fine. Ariel wrote down her future career goals on a piece of paper after relinquishing the position of healer. Azriel suddenly realized, compared to that, it seems like the blessing I received is still incomplete. The blessing lasts only 3 hours. She thought further, I can use it once a day. First of all, the blessings I know of are a total of 4 types. After thinking, Ariel immediately recorded all of her knowledge in a notebook. Head helped improve her ability to absorb knowledge. Mond helped her have a meticulous vision and a sharper eye. As for Odysseus, Ariel pondered for a moment and then wrote, probably helps me become a bit more beautiful. Crack, the sound of the pen being held too tightly until it broke in half. Ariel looked at the broken pen with a slightly pained expression, thinking, and this is Sella's blessing. This is the 3rd time I've broken a pen because of this power. What's going on, Saint? Daisy, her maid, exclaimed from nearby. Ariel, feeling extremely embarrassed, remembered the lie she had told about the chair collapsing into pieces. Then, another image appeared, 2 ruffians who Ariel effortlessly sent flying with a wave of her hand. Ariel continued to think. Although she hadn't tested it on humans, she had the ability to touch something and make it shatter to pieces. With her imagination, she envisioned herself with a fierce, intimidating face saying, "You're dead for sure." With a confident look on her face, Ariel tightly clenched her fist, determined to win. She thought, this should be enough to protect myself in the future. It's truly a wonderful blessing. As she laughed at her newfound strength, Ariel received a notification from the system. The destruction deity Sella is pleased with your exclamation and blushes. Ariel looked at the notifications and thought, is the one blushing the one who's puffing up their cheeks? After contemplating, she felt that this deity was really cute. Just then, 2 more system messages appeared. The knowledge deity Hesed glances sideways at the deity Sella. The love deity Odysseus spreads bad rumors about the deity Sella. Ariel felt bored looking at the string of notifications. She thought, are they acting like children? They're jealous of each other's praise. As the screen stopped, everything became quiet. Ariel thought to herself, is jealousy the cause? If so, there's only one way to handle this. She sweetly said, although the blessing of the deity Sella is wonderful, the blessings of the deities Hesed, Mond, and Odysseus are equally amazing. I think the system is mistaken. As soon as she finished speaking, a series of system messages arrived, making Ariel jump. The knowledge deity Hesed is curious, who has helped you the most? The art deity Mond asserts that no deity has helped you as much as he has. The love deity Odysseus flutters, asking if it's true? Ariel panicked and replied, of course, everyone is helping me immensely. So please don't argue. Before she could finish her sentence, there was a knock on the door. Azrael said, come in, and the notification screen disappeared. Daisy, her maid, timidly approached the door and said apologetically, Saint, there's a guest outside. Ariel asked, a guest? Daisy replied nervously, the prince is waiting outside. Hearing this, Ariel's entire body tensed up. Azrael quickly made up an excuse to avoid meeting the intimidating man. I'm not feeling well today, so you can tell him to go back. Azrael pretended to cough, and Daisy's face turned pale with feigned humility. At the door, the maid gasped and looked to her side, where a person with fiery red hair was standing next to the door. That cough sounds fake, the person said. Ariel recoiled, recognizing the voice. But how could this be? Ariel raised her hand to knock on the door, and Prince Kill leaned against the door, smiling warmly, I'm not planning to leave. Azrael bowed her head and began to wish the prince well, but she was interrupted. Skip the pleasantries, the prince said curtly. Come out, I'm here to discuss things that haven't been said. Under the gentle moonlight, the two of them walked together. However, because Ariel was too tense, the only sound left was the footsteps echoing in the distance. Ariel thought, the prince is as principled as I know. Why would he choose to talk in such a secluded place? As she was lost in thought, a notification came from the system, ting. The art deity Mond holds his breath, the knowledge deity prepares to strike lightning. Ting. The destruction deity Sela suppresses the deity Hesed at the speed of light. Azrael frowned as she looked at the ting. Notification. The love deity Odysseus eagerly observes the two individuals. After seeing this, Ariel immediately deactivated the transmission function of the art deity Mond, hastily pressing the button with her hand. Notifications from the deities have been blocked. Finally, Prince Kill spoke, last time, I admired your splendid performance as the saint. But this time, your acting was abysmal. His words startled Ariel, and the notification screen disappeared abruptly. Prince Kill turned to face her and said, enough with the pretense. Let's get straight to the point. I'm here to issue you a warning. The prince's face at this moment appeared extremely serious. Elsewhere, Genevieve hurriedly went to find Juz, reporting on the previous high society event where the saint personally supported the prince. She mentioned that the destruction deity had blessed the prince. Genevieve seemed somewhat anxious, thinking about Ariel's relationship with Prince Kill. She must also know that he doesn't need her protection, Juz said helplessly. Although it's just speculation, she seems sincere. He unintentionally muttered, love? He doubted himself, wondering, if it's not a human experiment, could she really be a special existence? Genevieve continued, furthermore, the prince has come to find the saint, Juz. Hearing this, he involuntarily jolted. He still held his face, silently sighing that now the two of them were together. Genevieve, he called. The guard politely responded, yes, Bishop? In a solemn tone, Juz asked, where's the saint now? His hand clenched tightly around the clamp, and in the surprised gaze of the guard, his eyes seemed almost crazed. At the garden of the cathedral, Kyle discussed private matters with Ariel. She asked, the prince asked if you had something to report? Faced with the ambiguity of her question, Killen confirmed, that's correct, I learned about it after the previous banquet. It seems that Queen Aberforth's younger brother Michael is colluding with some people from the cathedral. He continued, they might be investigating the saint's secrets, because there's no other way to politically undermine me anymore. Ariel was shocked, so that's it. She realized that it was a clear development in the story. Thanks to the appearance of the saint, the turmoil among the people was stabilized. Killen took advantage of that to stabilize his position 2 years ago. That's why Kill colluded with Juz to create a fake saint. She recalled, furthermore, at the last banquet, I openly supported him, so the prince's political rival, the queen, must have sensed it and went to investigate. She was stunned. However, I have no memory of reading this content in the original novel. Kill has never come to see Ariel like this before. She clenched her fists. Indeed, the storyline is deviating, which is very dangerous. Her eyes gleamed with determination, and she asked, do you have any information about those insiders? Kill replied, unfortunately not, but it's suspicious that Aberforth is also looking for the mole. She didn't understand and asked, but didn't you say they were colluding? Kill raised his hand to stroke his chin, pondering for a moment, then said, it seems something happened to that mole. So lately, Aberforth has been increasingly frantic. Ariel thought, isn't that bad for us? But he shook his head at her innocence. No, the mole is gone, they won't stay quiet. On the contrary, they'll probably become more agitated. Moreover, what information did that mole give them? Can you guess? She shook her head, saying, I don't know anymore. Kill sighed wearily, well, if that's the case, we'll have to do it that way. In the future, if you see anything suspicious, you must report it immediately. Osriel obediently replied, yes, Your Highness. But Your Highness, she hesitated. Hearing her call, Kill's eyes lit up with joy, and he eagerly looked at her. Actually, I have a favor to ask of Your Highness, she gently hinted. He furrowed his brow, asking, a favor? She concentrated for a moment, then began to shower him with praise to win his favor. She said, even at such a young age, you have mastered swordsmanship to the highest level. You are the rightful heir to the empire and the one who will command the entire continent to suppress armed rebellions, aren't you? She danced around, continuously praising him, as if to say, you're great, aren't you, Prince? Kill just stood there, dumbfounded, not understanding what she was up to, but because she was beautiful, he was busy admiring her. Feeling a bit embarrassed by her foolish actions, she quickly abandoned that idea and said, last time, I prevented your reputation from being diminished. Now that we are allies, so. Before she could finish, Kill cut her off, saying, are you asking for marriage again? His words made Ariel jump in surprise, saying, no, I already said I wouldn't joke like that anymore. Then she placed her hand on her chest confidently, saying, my only wish is to preserve my own life. Listening to her serious words, Kill furrowed his brows and asked, preserve your life? How so? It was then that she explained, if I don't confront you, then you won't kill me, will you? She recalled the events from the novel she had read before transmigrating, thinking, even though we're cooperating now, there's no guarantee that the outcome will be different from the original story. Furthermore, I'm still the fake saint created by him to stabilize politics. Just the appearance of the real saint is enough reason for me to die. This realization made her sweat nervously, and she continued, I'm working for political stability as ordered by Your Highness and the bishop, so because of my enthusiasm, I don't seek retirement, I just hope you can ensure my safety. Kill was somewhat uncomfortable and asked, do you think I would kill you? Osriel looked up at him and replied, I just want such a promise. He sighed and agreed, I understand. As long as you don't turn against me, there will be no blood on my hands. Then he solemnly declared, I take the name Kill Illicit Eliezer to assure you. Osriel expressed her gratitude with a relieved expression, quickly saying thank you. Seeing her anxious expression, Kill teased, you seem relieved by a promise that has no value, don't you? He began to approach her step by step, saying, so you wrote that marriage proposal for the man you thought might kill you? As he walked towards her, the sound of his footsteps echoed heavily, making her slightly fearful, and the wind rustled through the leaves. He called out, Saint, gently asking, what were you thinking when you wrote that letter? The two stood close together in a very romantic setting. Kill continued, you love me, you want to be with me, you wait for me tirelessly, right? Then suddenly, he reached out and tucked her hair behind her ear. Ariel was surprised, unsure of how to react to his touch. He continued to caress her hair and whispered, "Were all the words you wrote in that letter lies?" Her bewildered expression showed she couldn't explain, and she said, "What? No, that's..." Suddenly, a voice interrupted, "Your Highness, are you insane?" Ariel recognized the cold voice and turned to confirm the person approaching. Indeed, it was Juz. "Your Highness, I remember we had an appointment. But I'm curious, why are you here with the saint?" Juz asked, his voice chilling. Juz wore a friendly smile, and Ariel respectfully bowed, offering her blessings. Kil explained, "We were just continuing the conversation from the unfinished banquet." Suddenly, Ariel rushed to stand in front of Kil, stopping him from speaking further. This made him very uncomfortable. She panicked and explained, "Yes, that's right. I'm chatting with His Highness about the food at the banquet." Kil exclaimed, "Huh?" Not paying attention to his discomfort, she continued, "There's really a lot to talk about with those dishes. The ingredients weren't fresh." Her foolish and naive words didn't ease the irritation of the two men facing each other. Juz spoke coldly, "Well, now that you've finished chatting, even if it's His Highness, the saint should limit her meetings." Then, Juz smiled warmly. "The saint too?" Hearing Juz speak, Kil furrowed his brows again. Azriel stood between them, crying inwardly. She replied, "Yes, I will be more careful in the future," but secretly thought, "Why is Juz provoking Kil like this?" Kil became serious again, saying, "Since when does the bishop have the right to monitor the saint? This is overstepping." Juz retorted, "I am always vigilant about unfortunate events. Your Highness knows that. Due to the incidents at the birthday banquet, some nobles in the Queen's faction have taken an interest in the saint and the saint's temple." Kil chuckled, "Ha ha, terrifying." He drew his sword from its sheath, immediately pressing it against Juz's neck. The two stood face to face under the serene moonlight. Kil spoke first, "If you're wary of unfortunate events, then you should consider this situation." Juz also became serious, no longer smiling. "Because of my nature, I can't let the riffraff be at ease." Kil explained, "I only came to warn the saint about matters related to the banquet." Hearing the mention of the banquet, Ariel suddenly laughed with hope of alleviating the tension. Kil continued, "Besides, whether we have private contact or not isn't something the bishop can arrogantly judge." Juz smiled mockingly and said, "I understand your highness's intention." Ariel watched them from afar, both of them determined that the saint's temple was not a place for human habitation. Kil sheathed his sword. The conversation immediately ended, and after returning to her room, she worried that she had to quickly seek Monda's help and leave this place. Back in her room, Daisy curiously asked, "So what happened? Was the conversation with His Royal Highness smooth?" Azriel, feeling utterly drained, made Daisy worryingly call out, "Saint, Miss Saint." She was holding her head, wondering why the atmosphere between the two of them felt so heavy. Seeing her like this made Daisy a bit uneasy, so she asked, "Is something wrong?" "Meeting His Royal Highness, I thought you would come back happy." Daisy continued. Ariel, surprised, asked back, "Happy, me?" Without hesitation, Daisy replied, "Yes, Saint. The saint likes His Royal Highness." Hearing Daisy say that, Ariel became even more panicked. She quickly got up and grabbed Daisy, asking, "Where did you hear that from?" Daisy said she heard it in the saint's temple where everyone knows. She then recounted Ariel's previous behavior, how she followed the prince everywhere, wrote songs about him, and talked only about him. Ariel almost collapsed upon hearing this dreadful news, exclaiming, "What? So that's it. Now I understand Kil's reaction at that time." Ariel recalled the moment when she was asked if she loved Prince Kil. She also realized, it's true, to the extent that I wrote such a letter to Kil, she must have spread gossip about me everywhere. And of course, Kil also heard those things, so... Her eyes widened as she remembered Juz's icy gaze at that moment. Her face showed sadness, then she took a breath and declared, since it's turned out like this, I have to change my plans. Daisy, standing next to her, asked in surprise, change your plans? Ariel asked Daisy, do you know many Manwha sisters? You mentioned before that everyone asked you about me. Can you help me spread some rumors? Daisy nodded in agreement, yes, of course, but what rumor? She spoke slowly so Daisy could remember. Ariel, the saint of Eliam, is a proponent of singlehood and has no intention of love or marriage. As she said this, she was full of energy and enthusiasm. Daisy, on the other hand, was puzzled by her decision. Why? So if your marriage plans are disrupted. Before she could finish, Ariel reassured her, it's okay. Although historically, all saints married nobles after leaving the temple, I have other priorities. So, thanks to you, Daisy, she laughed contentedly, pleased with her decision. Spreading rumors about being a proponent of singlehood will help me. Daisy agreed to follow her instructions, saying, I understand, ma'am. Azriel pushed Daisy away, urging her, spread the word quickly, get to work. Daisy, I trust only you. But Daisy, still worried, turned back and asked, is it really okay? Ariel raised her hand in reassurance, of course, it is. Finally, Daisy left feeling reassured, saying, I understand, Miss Saint. So, good night. After the room lights were turned off, she climbed into bed, thinking, that's right, I have no intention of clinging to Kill, hesitating with Juz, or following Ariel's footsteps in the original work. I have something more important, to live comfortably until old age after leaving the palace. Then she imagined herself lying at a pile of money and laughed gleefully. She reminded herself, I can't waste my second chance at life, I absolutely won't end up like in the original. Yes, I absolutely won't. Feeling content, she drifted into a deep sleep. Suddenly, someone called out, hey, wake up. The server's been bombed, and you're still sleeping? Wake up. Two unfamiliar voices kept urging her to wake up. Azriel, still half asleep, murmured, just give me 10 more minutes. But the strangers continued to insist, wake up now. If the server crashes like this, you'll be responsible. Azriel, feeling weary, sat up and yawned, saying, it's not even dawn yet. What's going on? Daisy, take these kids out, she said suddenly, realizing something was off. Wait, what kids? The strangers were shocked to hear her talking about kids in her sleep and exclaimed, what? Wake up! She opened her eyes wide and saw two children with golden hair floating in midair. The child on the left said, there's no time for this, the gods are causing chaos outside, while the one on the right continued, that's right, those crazy ones are hurling thunder and lightning out there. Azriel was now fully awake. The sight before her terrified her, making her feel like she was encountering ghosts. She exclaimed and hid under the covers, wondering, what's going on? But the two children kept urging her to hurry and stop the gods from causing chaos, warning her, wake up, if you keep sleeping like this, the server will crash for real. Azriel still wasn't fully awake and suspiciously thought, is the server really going to crash? What's going on? A child floated over and handed her a piece of paper, saying, due to the urgency of the situation, please sign this, and then we'll talk. She didn't understand and asked, sign this? The child angrily replied, stop dilly-dallying, we said there's no time. The one next to them added, here, mine too. Hurry up and sign. Azriel took the pen and signed both papers, silently wondering, it's just blank paper, why do they need my signature? After she finished signing, the papers flew out of her hand. The child said, wow, this is the first time I've seen such a careless signature. It's really ugly. But hey, should we use a wooden frame or a steel frame? The other child replied, I use steel, you use wood. That way, we can tell whose is whose. Azriel understood and muttered, so signing means signing like this? Am I supposed to be a fan club? She asked the children, who are you guys? Where am I, and what's going on? One of the children said, all right, let's get to the point. Even though we carry divine power, the time for your soul to be here is short. We are the existence separated from the ancient gods. In your world's language, you could call us server managers for better understanding. We brought your wandering soul to this world. Azrael couldn't fully grasp all the information at once and slowly focused. So, you guys managed the system and brought my sleeping soul here? Van replied, that's right. Although we cannot directly influence human souls, this time, we had no choice. Jen continued Van's words, because you attracted too much attention from the gods. Azrael suddenly became furious, what? So now it's my fault? If you really are the system operators, I have many questions for you. Ariel emphasized, especially about the gods' attention. She tightened her grip on her dress and said, why does the thunder suddenly sound like it's being broadcasted, with constant notifications feeling like I'm being monitored all day? I'm in misery here. Jen looked at her and said, covering his mouth, even though they are gods, because of how your soul looks. Van slapped Jen so hard that he cried out in pain, ouch. Then Van continued, saying, Jen is a worldly and superficial person, so don't worry about him. The reason the gods are fond of you, we still cannot say, but there is a problem. Suddenly, thunder roared, making Ariel jump. She asked anxiously, what's that? Van explained to Ariel, that's the problem I'm talking about. Those gods are angry, so they are now using thunder to attack the system. She thought to herself, could it be because of him? Ariel asked the system managers, but why are they angry? Jen countered, do you need to rethink what you've done? Ariel recalled her activities earlier that day, what did I do before sleeping? I chatted with Daisy. Before that, I only met Kill and Juz, right? Suddenly, Ariel became annoyed, remembering, today, the system asked if Ariel wanted to disable the thunder function. She asked in alarm, could it be because of disabling the thunder function? Jen folded his arms and explained, disabling the thunder function is, of course, the right of the thunder bearer. However, if it's disabled, the gods won't be able to see you anymore. Normally, when the gods lose interest, they leave the thunder. Van continued Jen's explanation, but this is the first time they haven't left and have instead come back to attack us, standing in line outside. Both of them looked utterly defeated. Azrael said, so now they want me to turn the thunder back on? Yes, before everything goes haywire, Jen replied to her. Ariel remained silent for a while, then asked again, what if I just don't turn it back on? Jen was taken aback by her question. Do you intend to keep the thunder off forever? Ariel slowly responded, exactly. I was asking if you could give me something related to what I want in exchange for turning the thunder back on? Ariel smiled and winked. Jen couldn't resist her charm and blushed. His voice stuttered, not only impure but also not saintly. How can a soul like this? Van asked Ariel, are you daring to negotiate terms with us? Just with the thunder, you've already received immense blessings. Azrael chuckled, whether it's a blessing or a curse depends on the recipient. Suddenly, she squinted and asked, why does the thunder sound so loud? The two system managers were frightened and didn't know what to say. After a while, they asked again, what are you curious about? In the library temple, Ariel stretched comfortably, that's all settled. So now, turn the thunder back on, and the system screen immediately displayed, God of Artmond begins to reattach your torn portrait. The God of Destruction Seleth pouts at your indifference. The God of Love Otis rushes over without shoes. Ariel reassured the gods, there, I remember all of you very well. The system screen showed another notification, God of Wisdom Hesed hurriedly retrieves the lightning just struck down. The God of Wisdom Hesed seems to have a lot to say to you. Ariel thought to herself, indeed, it was Hesed who caused the lightning. She asked Hesed, "Respected one, can you grant me a blessing?" The system's screen showed angry. The god of destruction Sela shakes his head as if unable to help. Ariel explained, "Why are you all like this? At that time, I had my own business. I also need to protect my privacy, you know?" Notification, God of Love Otis is curious about what privacy means. Osriel hesitated and replied, it's that, it's embarrassing. The system screen seemed about to explode with the notification, God of Love Otis is curious about what makes you feel embarrassed. The god of destruction Sela blushes and sneers elsewhere, the god of Armand is fascinated by your embarrassed expression, and the god of wisdom Hesed nods, saying you are still in that age. She felt satisfied, thinking they were starting to understand her, right? Osriel said to the god, "So from now on, I'll turn off the thunder when necessary, like when bathing or using the restroom." God of wisdom Hesed stands up to oppose your words. The god of destruction Sela shakes his head as if unable to help. Ariel replied, "That's not important. Anyway, normally, I only turn on the thunder unexpectedly, so even if I suddenly turn it off, please don't behave violently. Especially you, Hesed, if you abuse the thunder again, I'll turn it off permanently." God of wisdom Hesed nods with a resentful look. Osriel silently pondered that even though they were all powerful gods, she was the one holding the dominant position in this relationship. Moreover, such rules must exist for the symbiotic relationship to thrive. The system notifies that the god of love Otis expresses dissatisfaction with your words. Ariel sighed, thinking that if only they could understand her thoughts a little, but it seemed they still didn't. Nevertheless, Ariel felt she should show some appreciation to the gods. She continued, "Instead, I prepared this for everyone." What is the god of love Otis curious about? She said, "Gifts are necessary in relationships." She spread her hands, holding 4 bracelets. "I made these bracelets to show a little gratitude. How do you all like them? I'm not very skilled, but still, I want to say this. I'm always grateful to the gods." The gods remained silent, offering no response. Ariel also remained silent, waiting. Osriel thought to herself, even if they're handmade, aren't they too cheap? Suddenly, a gust of wind blew towards Ariel's hand holding the bracelets. Then a light flashed, and the bracelets disappeared. A new notification appeared on the system. The god of wisdom Hesed looked at the bracelets with tears of gratitude. The god of love Otis put one on and twirled it around. The god of destruction Sela put on the bracelet, blushing. The god of Armand evaluated these bracelets as invaluable. Osriel sighed in relief, thinking, perhaps they have sympathized. But then the system announced, the god of Armand complains that his bracelet is more exquisite than the necklace of the god Hesed. The god of wisdom criticizes Mondes' judgment as vulgar and attacks him. The god of love Otis pretends to stop the two holding each other and provokes them. She thought to herself, always chaos. Anyway, I've successfully pacified the gods, so Jen and Van shouldn't have any more problems. Back in the system, Ariel, now angry, said, "Can't you say it? You promised to tell me." Jen sweated nervously, saying, "But that question is a bit difficult?" Van also explained, "As system managers, that's information we can't provide." She lost patience. "What do you mean? Did you send me back in time to Ariel's body? There must be a reason, right?" Jen hesitated in his response, "Although we recruited you." Van continued Jen's words, "We didn't choose you on our own." Ariel continued to ask, "So, am I really in a novel called The Return of Saint Camilla?" Van asked back, "Saint Camilla's Return?" She nodded and said, "Yes, that's right, the novel I read before traveling here. The setting is Elium Temple of the Allies Empire. Camilla, who will become a saint, is bound to 3 male leads. And the false Saint Ariel desires Camilla's position, ultimately leading to her death at the last minute." Van asked her, "Wait, so does it have content about the underworld?" Osriel replied, no, because it's mostly romantic, there's almost no content about the underworld. Why do you ask? Jen whispered to Van, if that's the content, it seems like it's already written prophecy. Oh my god, what a coincidence? Osriel asked, is that a prophecy? Jen replied, we can't say specifically, but what you read might be a type of prophecy book sent from this side. If there's no content about the underworld, then only half of the book remains. Team Ariel's heartbeat quickened more than ever. She wondered with horror, what I read wasn't a novel, but a prophecy book. So, I didn't just travel here straightforwardly, but in reality, the prophecy book from this world entered the world I used to live in, and I thought it was a novel, so I read it. Therefore, after death, my soul transmigrated into Ariel's body? But usually, if it's called prophecy, it will become reality in the future, so. She said to the system manager, so, in the end, I have to end up like Ariel? Van crossed his arms and replied, that's right. But are you really Ariel? Because your soul is from another world, meaning you transmigrated into her body, so Ariel's destiny is changing. Besides, the prophecy book, also known as the book about the power of the prophet. She asked in surprise, who is that? Van answered, I'm sorry, I can't say more. Jen said to Ariel, but according to the prophecy, it seems to be wrong. Now you're replacing that girl. Van immediately interrupted Jen, if you say more, it may negatively impact Ariel's future. In conclusion, the answer ends here. Ariel tried to stop Jen and Van, wait, I still have many questions. But both of them immediately became vague and ethereal, saying, now it's time to go back.